iTiS Well of Worship Fellowship. iTiS is in truth and in spirit. Well of Worship Fellowship, and we get that from John chapter 4, verse 24. The story of the woman at the well, for those who know John chapter 4, the entire chapter. Yes, so today is Monday. Monday means we do a Q&A session or a Q&R session. We prefer to call it Q&R because we have questions and responses. Responses because we don't necessarily have the answers all the time, but also we also believe there's room for revelation. From the responses given here and from what you read based on your questions, God will reveal himself further and you'll have a more concrete picture of whatever you're asking. So today is Monday. If you have a question, please send it to us. You can send it via WhatsApp. You can send it via Instagram, YouTube, in the comments, even inbox. Yeah, that's how we get the questions. If you're listening to this audio forwarded to you by another person, you can send the question through that person. They'll bring it to us and we'll be happy to attempt. We do this every Monday between 6 and 8 p.m. East African time. Yeah, so feel free. The Zoom link doesn't change. The passcode doesn't change. Anytime you have time, feel free to join. Today is Monday, the 21st of April, 2025. A day where I woke up to the news of the death of the Pope Francis. A very sad day for the Catholics, of course, and the world at large. He's looked at as a holy father, a uniting factor, and so on and so forth. Of course, he has his critics as well, but that will be for another day, story for another day. Today, we are here to attempt a question which is kind of related to him and others like him. Should Christians or even religious leaders at large engage in politics and social justice projects? By politics, I mean commenting on the day-to-day happenings in their countries or in the world, probably commenting on the government policies or lack thereof. In case people are being oppressed, commenting on such. That's what I call social justice. In case of marginalized groups, should Christians in general, but even religious leaders, come out to comment actively on these matters? That's what we're going to be tackling today. Or are Christians encouraged just to pray for the leaders and submit to authority, like it says somewhere in Romans? Pray for your leaders and submit to authority. Don't question. Turn the other cheek. Is that what Christians are called to do? Or should Christians be at the forefront of shaping their communities? One of them is through meaningful engagement with politicians and other leaders. That's what we're going to be discussing today. The big question, of course, is how involved should Christians be in politics? Some have argued that because politicians are all rotten, doesn't matter which country, Christians should offer themselves for elective positions. I mean, the current crop has all failed us. Why shouldn't Christians who call themselves the salt of the earth actually come out and stand for elective positions and change things from within as opposed to changing things from outside? Okay, so we'll be attempting that as a question. And then the other one is that even a distraction from the gospel, because as Christians, you know, the Great Commission, Matthew 28, we are called to preach the gospel. So is entering politics a distraction from that Great Commission? Or is it actually an expression of the Great Commission? Because how are you going to preach Christ to people who have no food, who are diseased, who are dying from all sorts of things? So should we first fix the social issues and then we preach the gospel? Or should we preach the gospel along with try and fixing these social issues? We've seen many religions have hospitals, they have schools, and so on and so forth. Is then that how it should be? Basically, treat these people, feed the hungry, clothe the poor, but also preach Christ to them. Okay? Yeah, and of course, we shall be getting different examples from the Bible. The example of Jesus, who was God himself, how he engaged with systems at one point when he found an unfair system in the temple. He picked a whip and whipped them, flipped the tables, and drove them out of the temple. Is that what we are called to do as Christians? Christians normally say they follow Jesus as the example. Okay? Or should we look at the example of the Jews and how they interacted with the Romans and when they were under Roman occupation? Should we respect our leaders and not question them because it is unchristian, since we're just called to pray for them, and so on and so forth? How should Christians handle issues of the voiceless, like I said earlier? Are we called to speak out for the voiceless? How about the poor and marginalized of society? What should we as Christians do? Okay. And then how can we do all this without appearing like we are partisan, like we are subscribing to certain political parties or political values for that matter? Is there anything wrong with that anyway, as a Christian, subscribing to a particular political party? We know, at least in some in the US, the Republican Party is majorly consisted made of the conservatives, the Christian conservatives. Is there anything wrong with that? Okay. Basically, what should we do about voting? What is our civic duty as Christians? What should we do about truth telling, to, especially when it involves the authorities? What does it mean, peacemaking? You know, are we meant to just be peacemakers? How are we supposed to just submit to government, or can we actually resist injustice? We have many examples from the Bible, like I've said, but also many examples from history, the Martin Luther King Juniors of this world and others who have stood up for injustice, the Desmond Tutus and others. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome aboard. I'm your moderator, Jethro Msoke, for this week. Welcome and welcome aboard. Bob, earlier on, before we started the session, we're actually talking about some of these issues, but I know you're a Christian, Bob. First of all, I hope you can talk. I know
Yes,
you're
I'll
Christian,
talk briefly in the beginning. Yeah.
and as per your political persuasion, I know you have chosen to speak out against injustice, which is probably why you subscribe to a certain. Let me call it a movement. Let me not call it a political party. What are your thoughts as a Christian? Are we called to speak out against injustice? Are we called to align ourselves with political parties or even political movements? Is there anything right or wrong with that? How should we deal with injustice in our societies? Bob, let me just give you a chance before you get busy.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'll just say something quick. I think, in my view, you cannot separate politics and Christianity. I mean, it depends on how we define what politics is. But the intention of politics, if we are looking them politicians as leaders who are supposed to lead society justly, then Christians would be the best candidate for politicians. But we have somehow we have defined politics as we always say a dirty game. You know, can Christians play dirty games? No. But is it supposed to be a dirty game? So as long as my own definition of a politician, or in quote unquote a leader, is someone who is visionary and is going to have a vision for his people, is going to administer justice to his people, is going to treat people fairly, then Christians are the best candidates. If we say that, I mean, David was a person after God's own heart, and he led the people of Israel. I mean, we can say he led them very well or not very well. I don't know about that, but he was a person who had a passion for God. In today, we could say he was a Christian. You know, he had the belonging and was loyal to his God. He had his frowns, but he was able to be a leader, a king who really made strides for his people, and so many other kings we see. Some came that were not Christians, in quote unquote, that were not followers, and you know they drove the nation astray. Others came, kings who knew God and feared God, and the nations, you know, prospered and you know they were aligned. So fast forward today, if a Christian, a true Christian, is a president or is a leader and is really there to administer those values as a Christian, I think the nation can have the best leader ever, because they will not discriminate. They will treat each one equally, and they will have a vision for their people. So if I'm to answer you straight, yes, a Christian can be a politician. if we define politics in that way, and not in the usual way we understand it as liars, as blah blah blah. So for me, I think we should directly engage in politics. Why I side with quote unquote the oppressed is because I want to see things change. I want to see justice. I want to see people treated equally. I want to see things move, things change from the way I'm seeing now. The people that I support may not be the best option, but for now, if I'm looking at things and I'm like, no, I think the current leadership is not leading us in the best way possible. I'm right as even a Christian to side with those who want change and for things to move better and for things to move in a way that certain people are not kind of elevated over the rest. Now, we have very bad examples where we saw, for example, I'll bring this up in Rwanda, where we saw, that massacre, where even church leaders were involved in it. You see, now that is where Christians, like, how do we separate that? Because now they are aligned with their tribe, they are aligned with a certain group, and they ended up actually killing people. Yet the church was supposed to be a safe haven where all, whether they were Tutsis, whether they were Hutus, were supposed to run and be like a neutral ground where everyone is welcome. And comment about the Pope, like, he was trying to say, okay, I don't care what you have done. You are all welcome at this table. Whether you are gay, whether you are this, whether you are that, I'm not going to deny you of God's blessing based on what you have done or for who you are. So for me, I think this is where Christianity is supposed to be. We're supposed to be welcoming to all and play the good politics. I'll stop at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. You've reminded me we didn't quite define politics. So thank you for the reminder. I think I jumped straight in. But also you've brought out an important point that religious leaders, or Christians for that matter, should not and cannot stand on the sides watching their societies or countries disintegrate without saying anything. Of course, in Uganda here, and I'm going to come to the definition of politics shortly. In Uganda here, the president is on record, first of all, telling religious leaders, please stay in your lane. Okay, stay in your lane. Leave politics to me. Me, I'm a politician, you're a cultural leader. And I think he has also told the religious leaders the same. Please stay with your morals and ethics in your institutions. Leave the politics to me. Okay? The president is on record, at least here in Uganda. So, of course, that's one of the things we're going to be discussing. But then, secondly, politics, in my definition, is the art and science of managing a society or a community. Now, that involves many things, as you can imagine. It involves interests, it involves distribution of resources, it involves taking advantage of one small subgroup at the expense of another, and so on and so forth. So, when we say Christians can actually participate in this, it is quite interesting. Omichwez, what's your definition of politics before we get into whether a Christian should or should not involve themselves?
The definition of politics,
According to you?
According to me, it's just convincing masses to not even convincing them, hoodwinking them to believe in your leadership.
Hoodwinking. Why do you need to hoodwink the masses? Because they can't believe, or what? Or they are that stupid?
No, they see that I'm a good leader. I'm going to do this and for you.
But your network is shady today. I don't know why.
Hello?
Network is
Hello?
jumping. Okay, now I can hear you. Proceed. You're back again. Are you in Kawohe or you're in Kampala? First fix your network, Ped. Sorry, I can't hear you. Let me go to Peter. Peter, are you there?
Yes, I'm here walking, evening walk.
Evening walk, perfect time to have a conversation like this. I'm sure you're jumping over potholes, jumping over garbage, and other such things.
Exactly.
So,
yes,
can you give us your definition of politics, and then you tell us whether a Christian should or should not involve themselves in the same.
Politics is a method of exercising power and authority through societies, organizations, and institutions. Politics is a method of exercising power and authority in all societies, organizations, and institutions. For example, okay, let us first break down authority. Authority is legitimized power. For example, legitimized to mean there has been a method of some sort that has been based on and agreed on for somebody to exercise power. For example, in our contemporary society, voting, charisma, and tradition. Where tradition here, we mean things such as monarchs. That these are ways that have been used to legitimize power. For example, the Kabaka of Uganda has authority, but the kind of authority or legitimate authority is from tradition. Mr. Museveni has got power currently by constitution, but also by the gun. But let us stay constitution. So Mr. Museveni is legitimate because the constitution of Uganda legitimized voting. Yeah. Isaiah White Tumwine has authority, and I'll call it charisma and education in iTiS. Yeah, it's a charismatic authority, but also knowledge authority or education authority. So Priest Isaiah White has authority over iTiS, which is legitimate by his education and by his personality or character. So that is what we call authority. Power is merely the ability to influence others despite resistance, or in the despite resistance. Now, the method or the way of exercising those two in the elements of society, for example, family is an element of society, government is an element of family, or rather an element of politics, or rather unions, organizations, companies, and so on. Yeah, so all that is what we call politics. So whenever you exercise power and authority in any of such institutions, we say you're doing politics. Now, that is one way. Now, because of that, I also need now to go to Christianity. Christianity. Who is a Christian? It should be clear that when we talk of a Christian, we do not mean an institution. History has been littered with the discourse of church and politics, whereby church, Christianity has been involved. But when we talk of church in Christianity, we do not refer to an institution, and we do not refer to a social organization. Christianity is a faith in a God who became a human being known as Christ. And Christianity is is a new world, is a creation. It's a new world. Whenever you say Christianity, you're speaking of how things should run in the new creation or in the new order of creation. That's what we call the kingdom of God. So Christianity has nothing to do with Catholicism, with SDAism, and I don't think it has anything to do with social morals. I doubt so. So that voting should not be rigged, so that
Christians don't live in society or what? They live in heaven, Peter?
no, they live in society, but they're not of society. So that we have a challenge that you have a world, a Christian world, within a world which is not Christian. The originator of Christianity was one time asked, and his answer was clear. Says, my world is not of this world. Now, yes, we are in the world, but we are not. So we need to ask, can we reconcile? Can we reconcile Christianity, which is a new world, which is a new creation, in the current creation without conflict? Okay, so that's what we need to do. So I think a Christian, a Christian is already in politics. It is no longer a question whether Christians should involve themselves in politics or not. Why? Because we are all around in politics, and we start with the family. So it begins with me. How do I exercise authority and power in my family? I begin there. How do I exercise authority and power among my students? How do I exercise my authority and power within my union or my organizations where I work? So it begins there. And probably we should now ask how well or how moderate or how carefully should we do politics? Well knowing that we have another ideology of politics. And that ideology must be married to the current ideology. So we ask, how should we do that? I would like to end, no, not end, because I'll come back later. I would like to say that, number one, should we engage ourselves in politics? Yes. Yes. Why? Because we are units of society. Also, we are part of the units of society. Okay? But we should do it circumspectly. We should do it carefully. When given opportunity, we should do it carefully. Why? Because if we don't, then we shall be hung. We shall be hung because we shall propose what is a counterculture, which will never work within the current dispensation of the world. I submit for now.
Thank you, Peter. Christians are of the world, but not, no, they are in the world, but not of the world. That's what Peter is telling us. Since they're in the world and surrounded by politics, right from family and, then they can't avoid it, so they need to involve themselves carefully. I've forgotten the other term he used. It was too technical for me. Anyway, thank you, Peter.
Circumspectly.
Circumspectly. That one. Is that one what he has said?
You need to be shrewd.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You don't need to be like my brother John. If you want to face Herod, how do you face Herod? I think we should also discuss that. If I'm to face Herod, who is taking over his brother's wives and so on, how do we face Herod? How do we deal with Nebuchadnezzar when we are in charge? How do we deal with Pharaoh when we are the Josephs? So we need to ask wisdom. What kind of wisdom do we need to be in mainstream politics? Where mainstream politics says government. But before government, we have governance. Governance is far much greater than government. Government is just a small dot of governance. So
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter.
all right.
Yeah, thank you. Omichwez, is your network better? Can you speak? And shall let you know.
I don't know if it is okay.
Are you in the village or you are around Kampala?
I'm around here, but usually it drops off around this time. I don't know why.
When people return
is
home
this
and
one
they all
better?
connect. But we can hear you for now, so just proceed. Your definition of politics, and then whether you think Christians should involve themselves or not.
I think Peter has he explained it. I don't need to go further. But me, it just the politics is just people trying to con other people to lead them. So and me, those are the lenses I look at politicians. There's no honest politician. Everyone is there for their own benefits and their families. So when you ask, should
Shouldn't that then mean Christians need to go into this area so that they work for the people, as opposed to the current regime, which crop of politicians, I mean, who work for themselves? Shouldn't Christians then come into this space?
Now that is where the system cannot allow us. And me, I'm going to speak my point from this. I want to, first of all, when you talk about social injustice, the question is, which angle are you looking? Are you saying social injustice from? Because, for example, when you look at Uganda, in the 70s or in the 60s, actually, okay, let's say in the 70s, you find that one group was saying the people from West Nile were inserting social injustice on other people. But when you go and ask people from West Nile, will they actually say that they're inserting social injustices on other people? Maybe the answer may be different.
Rutembana seems to be too low. I can't hear him.
Hey.
Is it I alone?
I can actually hear him. It must be your headset or whatever.
Okay, then
The others can confirm, but I can hear him loud and clear.
Now, for the last 40 years, there are some people that are feeling oppressed and they are complaining. But it may not be generalized for all the 45 million Ugandans that are living, or 50 million Ugandans. And probably if those people also get a chance, they're going to oppress other people. So the question would be on what do we mean by, okay, who is defining the social injustice and who is oppressing?
The Christian is defining it, Pedson.
Now, if the Christian is defining it, now that's where I'm going to come. That's why you see, I'm saying it's not standard, according to me. Because whereas some people are complaining about social injustice, some people are okay. Where you find that it's not a standard, because when we talk about the social injustice, the actual the physical maybe injustice, people were beaten in Kawempe, but people who didn't go to Kawempe were not beaten. So it's not a standard. People who went to Kawempe.
Does that mean if I didn't go to Kawempe, I can't talk about what happened in Kawempe?
Okay, now me, I want to first talk about the physical assault. People who did not go were not beaten. So meaning if those people who were beaten did not go, then they will not be facing the social injustice. But if me who is here had gone, I was going to be beaten and I'll be the one who is going to be. So the question is, the one who is talking about social injustice, it's the angle that you're looking at. Huh? That
Well,
is one.
Peterson, is beating acceptable anywhere? I thought beating is an injustice everywhere, especially for political reasons. Do you need to know which side? We've seen NRM people who criticized it. We've seen opposition guys who criticized it. So does it matter where you're standing or it's just wrong?
Now,
I don't
you see when
understand
you
your
have,
point. That's what I'm
now
saying.
my point is this, power and authority is never shared. And whoever has power has absolute power. You have it 100%. You don't even allow to share 2% of it. Even the people that do not have power do not want to come and share the same power that you have. They want to take it away from you and have it 100% and you remain at zero. Now, the people who have power always guard it jealously to the extent that it is them with their power and you either die. And that is how humanity has been all over for all those years. Power is not shared. You can never find that you have a king who is seated on a throne and you have another king, two kings in the same kingdom. It has to be one with authority and power. So the one who has that power will try as much as possible to defend and make sure that he doesn't share that power. So the beating, the killing, and the oppression is only directed towards those who want to share or want to take away the power from the one that has it. And now my advice as a Christian is that if you're not ready to be oppressed, then you better leave the game of politics. Because politics, you don't have to, there's no middle ground. You either have it or you don't have it. Now, the moment you convince yourself that this time I'm ready, I'm going to fight, and I take whatever I take it out from this person, then it's okay. Go fight. If you become successful, you take it all. And you also have to start defending it against the other people, because no one will be happy that you now have the power. So that is the problem with the game. But me, I'm going to just respond start from what Peter had said. We discuss here, and we know that all these things that we are talking about, the injustice, they have one root cause, which is sin. Now, question is, can we ever, can we ever reverse that? Because you see, some of the things that we do, the things that we want, there's some driving force, some invisible driving force that causes us to do some of these things. Someone was saying, if you meet Museveni one-on-one, you may find the guy wants to leave power maybe by yesterday. But there's that thing that keeps telling him, that greed. You hang on. So the question is, if we have a force that is pushing us to do these things and is way stronger than us and what we can imagine, then you as a Christian, what are you going to do? Even if you pray, is it going to take it away? Even if you advocate, is it going to take it away? I think all you have to do is, instead of wasting all your energy, is you submit. If you're tired of submitting, get the 27 guns and go and fight against the thing. And also be like him that you fought. Because the people that you take away, you will have to definitely become like them. As in, that is me the
cycle of politics.
And that's why you see nowadays, I've started questioning. We have always been talking about what's this that we always talk about at iTiS? Counterculture. I've been thinking, I'm like, but I think we're just wasting our energy. We are fighting against a much, much bigger force that we cannot counter and fight against. Thank you.
Thank you, Peterson. This is actually a good point to bring in Isaiah. Isaiah, can you hear us? I think you can start by responding to Ped on that particular issue of if you're fighting a cosmic power which is causing all these problems, what are you even doing, you little man, in Uganda or in, wherever you are? Like what impact is it going to have anyway? Start from that point, then later on you can go to your definition of politics, if it's different from what has already been said, and then whether we should, as Christians, get involved or not. Please.
Well, one of the things, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear.
Yes, one of the things we share in common with Pedson is that we read books, but a certain kind of books, and those books are books written by people who have been there, who have done it, and Pedson is, because he's historically oriented, he has quite a number of those books. Recently, I referred to him to a certain book. I wanted him to buy it so that I can read it. I didn't want to buy it. Pedson, have you bought it? The book that I told you to buy.
First remind me which one up. Which one?
I'll text you the message again. I need you to buy it so that I can read it. Now,
Okay.
but the
Don't
reason
want the rest of us to know the book.
No, sure, I will share in the group. Don't worry. I will share in the group.
Okay.
And I will share some other titles if you're interested. But the reason I brought up this is because Peterson has been frustrated by this whole idea of iTiS of a counterculture. Now, the reason that's why Peterson reads those books by those men is because those are actually the players in the counterculture formation.
I missed who are the players, the key players in counterculture formation?
The people whose books that we read.
Okay.
Those are the players. Now, you cannot say that books have not facilitated in creating a certain kind of culture. You cannot say that. I'll give you another example. You guys, apart from Peter, I think, the rest of you have not lived in these places and have not driven in these places. You have never driven or lived in Nansana, and you have not lived and driven in Kalerwe and Waise. You have not. Now, the difference that I have with you is that I was born in Bugolobi, and I have lived in Nansana, and I pass via Kalerwe, etc. But I've also ever lived via...
And Chivulia.
And I have ever lived via... I work in Kisasi, okay? I have taken the route of Namugongo, that lane. I was raised in Muyenga, Bugolobi, of course, etc. Now, here's the thing. When you look at the traffic in Nansana and Kalerwe Waise, and then look at the traffic and the drivers in Kisasi Chanja, in Muyenga, in Kololo, it's different. Peterson, that's what we mean when we talk about a counterculture. We are saying that while people are littering, we want to start, we ourselves, to nurture a culture where we don't litter. While people are overtaking and driving on pavements, we are the kind of people who do not drive on pavements. And I can assure you, it's demonstrable everywhere. You can see it in Chanja, you can see it in Kololo. Those guys, there is the way they drive, whether there's a traffic officer or not. So you cannot be frustrated and lose hope and say, no, this is a lost cause. We are wasting our time. No, we are not wasting our time. We are not. We are actually building an alternative. If we give up on an alternative, we will not even live in this world. We can't live without alternatives. We are volitional beings. We need alternatives. So that's what we mean at iTiS by a counterculture. The people that you read in those books are people who are providing alternatives. They were providing alternatives. Well, some of them failed on the way. For instance, the man leading Uganda today was providing an alternative. He was. He might have failed on the way if you asked Bob, and actually myself, as we speak today. But he initially had started by providing an alternative. That's the whole thing, Mr. Moderator, of this counterculture thing. So we want to insist on that. We want to be different. We want to do ministry different. And I think you can see, we want to live, our lifestyles should be different. They should be countering the existing culture and challenging the status quo. That's what we're doing. We can't give up. We need to raise, Peterson needs to speak to his daughters about life and give them a perspective. Actually, you don't give them one perspective. Tell them the world does this, but this is what is right. Nurture them. Then you have created agents of this counterculture that are going to actually to counter the existing status quo, which we all agree is not normal and not sober, not healthy, not safe for any sober person and sane person. So basically, that's what we mean by a counterculture, Moderator. And I am one of the people who are not willing to give up, and I haven't given up until I die. Okay, until I die. And it is from that angle, Mr. Moderator, I would like to respond to the question: should a Christian involve themselves in politics
and social justice?
And social justice. Whoever is a Christian like myself, okay, must involve themselves in politics, all right, as matters.
As matters.
Yes.
I hope your definition of politics is what you've already described. So you don't need to go back into the...
My definition of politics is the practice of leadership.
The practice of leadership.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, that is
Care to
politics.
expound on that?
The leadership as a concept, you all know what leadership as a concept is, true? But when that gets into practice, when that is practiced, that is politics.
Okay.
It is, politics is leadership in practice. Politics is practiced leadership. Politics is practicing leadership. Politics is implementing leadership. Politics is putting leadership at work. That is what
applying leadership.
It is applying leadership. That is what politics is. Now, I'll give you an example. It's good that all of you here are parents, including my daughter Sandra. We are already grandparents. For those of you who do not want to grow, this girl has made us grow by force. Now,
hallelujah.
There is no hallelujah. Now, all of you who have children, okay, you know that sometimes you have to tell that toddler to finish food so that she can take ice cream. True or false?
True.
Now, you are a leader because you are leading her to a healthy body and a healthy diet. But for you to achieve your leadership goals, you must play some politics. And the politics is telling her that you finish food very fast so that you can eat ice cream. When she finishes ice cream, okay? I mean, when she finishes the food, we can tell how a good leader you are by fulfilling what you promised. At least to a certain extent. If you are not willing to fulfill that, you must play another politics to the satisfaction of the agent, of the expectant agent. That is what politics is. We are all politicians. We might not all be Christians, but we are all politicians. We might not all be leaders, but we are all politicians. At a certain point, we play politics. That is why my brother Peterson said, it is a business of hoodwinking. That is why my brother Bob said it is a dirty game. It's not the game that is dirty. It is the players that are dirty, that dirten the game. Politics is not dirty. It is the dirty us that involve into a clean game and we make it look dirty. And I can tell you, all the people that you see in politics are the dirt in the game. For example, my father was wrong to tell religious leaders that you concentrate on your religion and leave politics alone. He was wrong. Because I'm very sure my father, his bachelor's is in political science. And in political science, there's an entire course of the church and the state. So how can you tell the church, aka religious leaders, Christendom, to concentrate on religion and leave politics alone? How? And yet in your course units, there is a church and state. So the church and state, or in other words, religion and politics are one and the same. They are all political entities. One uses the president at the helm, and another uses God, in quotes, at the helm. But they are all political entities. So politics and religion are one and the same. Politics is the science of managing society. Yes, religion also is the science of managing society. Why? Because religion encourages people that this is not the end. And then it plays the carrot and stick. When you steal, you shall go to hell. When you don't steal, you shall go to heaven. They are all managing society, unruly society. So moderator, I wanted to start from that part of the question. And then the other part of the question, I would like to first of all introduce, maybe I'll come back later. But for now, I'd like to encourage and tell all Christians like myself and all religious people, wherever they are, that there are two important people in the world. In fact, there are only two people who run the world and operate the world. Number one is the religious person. Number two is the politician. These are the people who run the world. When the Pope was at the brink of his death, the call was made to the United States, okay, so that one of them can come before the
We
Pope.
saw the vice president spent his Easter there.
Thank you very much. That was not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. It is the church and state. Those are the two entities that run the world. Number one. Number two, everything, in fact, politics affects everything important. Everything important for you. Politics determines which school your child will go and which teacher will be there and how much school fees you will pay in that school. It is politics that determines that. Maybe the day of religion will come and I talk about that, but now let me focus on politics. Politics determines which hospital will be built, which quality of that hospital, which kind of doctors will be there, how much will be the treatment, and how much will be the medicine. It is politics. And which diseases will be treated in your country, and which ones won't be treated in your country. It is politics that determines that.
Sabbath-day.
Politics is in charge of the water, the electricity, and the internet. And these are the modern basic needs, things that you cannot live without. It is politics that will determine that. Politics will determine which kind of food you will eat. And in fact, to a certain extent, which kind of food you will grow in your own garden. It is politics. Because politics can wake up one morning and say, we do not want any organic seed. Organic seeds are dangerous. Whoever plants that will be arrested. True or false?
Yep.
Uh-huh. That is
Actually, just take them off the market. You'll never find them.
Thank you very much. Politics. For those of us who are renting, politics is in charge of how much our rent will be. It is politics. If you're paying taxes, it is politics. Politics is going to determine which office you will be and which one you won't be. The president that you choose has the power to make you rich in 30 minutes and the same power to make you poor of the wealth that you've collected for the last 45 years. The guy can make you poor in 30 minutes. It is politics. Now, when we ask a question, should a Christian be involved in politics? What are we saying? Thank you, moderator.
Before I let you guys, there's a statement you made which I picked. You said a Christian should be involved as a matter. Can you just expound briefly on that?
Exactly.
Why you want to come back with that in part 2 when you come back?
Pedson, if you need to go back and listen to this Zoom again and listen to Pedson, and then you will understand what I mean. If you're a Christian, you're going to involve yourself into politics, you have to go there as a matter. Why? Because the population in politics is greedy. They are not comfortable with anyone trying to do the right thing. So a Christian must involve themselves into politics to go there and die for what is right, not be compromised, not be bought. You rather be died. And that death can come in various forms. One, you can be chased from the office, which is the best death. There you have not died. It is your career that has died. Two, you can be killed literally, but you die on what is truth and not be compromised. So Christians, we ourselves involve ourselves into politics as matters. We go there willing to die because we have given ourselves for others. Now, if you are my age, or at least older than myself, you will understand what we call civil service and a civil servant. Civil servants were wealthy people who did not need a salary, decided to serve the public for no pay at all. Now, these are people who denied themselves. So Christians should go in politics after they have denied themselves. In Uganda today, politics is a career, and people go to politics to get rich. That is not politics. No. These are just goons and thieves. When you hear the thing, politics is a business of interest. Brilliant. Whose interests? Not the interest of the civil servant. No, a civil servant does not serve their interest. They serve the interest of the public. Politics is a business of interest. Whose interest? The public interest, not your own interest. What you see today, these are thieves. These are paupers, senior 6 individuals who have failed elsewhere. And they can only thrive in this party of goons and thieves. That's not politics. The word has been abused for a long time, yes, but that's not what politics is. Politics is leadership in practice. Forget about all this nonsense of telling ebyobufuzi bya kulimbalimba. No, si bya kulimbalimba. Okay, kulimbalimba kutya, how? Because I gave you an example. You tell your baby, okay, that you finish food, I'll give you ice cream. And you make sure that you give a spoon of ice cream after they have finished the food. If you want them to finish food the next time, you are playing politics as a leader because you have leadership goals. You don't have selfish goals. Today, politicians tells children that don't eat food, let me eat this food, you will eat ice cream, which is even not there. This is what is happening. That is not leadership. Neither is that politics. These are thieves. These are liars. Let's call things a spade, and let's call things by their rightful names. these are thieves, these are liars, these are destroyers. So we enter politics as Christians as martyrs. Why? Because we know we are going to fight against murderers, thieves, and robbers. So there must be Christians standing up to die for what is right. And that's why I tell you that Christians should involve themselves into the modern politics as martyrs. We need martyrs. And the matterhood of this should be NRM should be denied people standing on their card in Uganda, and we should cut that parliament to 100 MPs. Christians should stand against people who are demanding for districts so that we can cut our districts. We should protest. The leader of Bob has come up with an idea of protestive vote. No, it shouldn't be protestive vote. No, it should be protesting voting, not a protestive vote. These liars and thieves are all corners. We should be protesting voting for 500 MPs, for 200 district heads. We should be protesting. That's what Christians are. And we should be willing to be martyrs. This country must be put on a standstill so that we can fix it. We need people willing to die as martyrs. So for me, that's how Christians should involve themselves in politics, in this modern politics. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you're just joining us, this is In Truth and in Spirit Well of Worship. We normally abbreviate In Truth and in Spirit as iTiS, Well of Worship. So if you've seen iTiS Well of Worship, it really just stands for In Truth and in Spirit. Today is Monday. Monday we have interactive Q&A, what we prefer to call interactive Q&R, because we try and attempt a question and a series of sub-questions, and we give responses to them, not answers, but responses. And we believe the Holy Spirit, who is God himself, will continue to reveal himself through the responses given here, through your own research, through your own reading and experiences. So we're not the alpha and omega of knowledge here. No. So when we attempt a question, it's not because we know everything about it. No, it's because we share our inspiration, our experience, and then, of course, you go back and continue reading and researching and praying. So today is Monday. If you have a question, please feel free to inbox me, the moderator. If you were listening to this, if it was forwarded to you by somebody, just send the question to them. They'll get it to me. We are happy to have interesting questions. If you have any questions, please feel free. Today we are discussing an interesting one about the involvement of Christians in politics and in social justice projects generally. Obviously, in history, we have quite a few of those. The Martin Luther King Jr.'s and others. In Uganda here, we have a whole public holiday for a certain archbishop called Janan Luum. Okay, it's considered one of the martyrs. Isaiah was just talking about martyrs in politics. So in Uganda, we have a whole public holiday, but even internationally, we have the Desmond Tutus, and others. So that's what we're discussing today. Let me first, Bob. After what has been said, can you speak first of all? I want to first give you another chance because you went first before these guys unleashed their.
A little bit. What's your question?
Okay, based on your initial response of what politics is and whether Christians should get involved, what are you feeling right now?
Well, I think I still have, the same submission I made still stands. I think what Isaiah added is the matter thing, but I really just say that Christians cannot shy away from politics, and I define my politics as a Christian, and I differentiated it from what we are used to, or by our hierarchy, that should not be the real definition. So really, I have nothing much to add.
Okay, maybe let me ask you a more direct question. Now let's go into the how. Of course, one way is to be a keyboard warrior, sit behind your laptop or whatever, and type away on Twitter, on Facebook, and so on. But how about elective office? In a country, at least let me talk about Uganda. This week I was listening to Evelyn Anite. I think you guys saw the clip. She said she's not coming back 2026. Why? She said the amount of money in this country spent in politics. She said one time she withdrew 100 million. going to Koboko, within 2 days, she couldn't account for any. Another time, she withdrew 500 after a week. She couldn't account for it. So, as a Christian standing for an elective post, let us now go into the practicality. How should you go about it if you've decided that that's the best way to get involved? And with that reality on the ground. If you tell the
I think
voters that,
it's
you know what, I have no to believe you, but I represent your interests, will they believe you? Go on,
I
Bob. Sorry.
think I think Isaiah put it right. Basically, get ready to become a martyr in everything, because even when you say you're going to give them something or whatever, I mean, there's the other police to deal with, you know. So I think whether you want to be a keyboard warrior, do what you can as an individual, whether it's on the keyboard, whether it's going for protesting, do whatever you can. For me, that's the simplest way I can put it. Do whatever you can in your own way. Because some people, I mean, like for example, if I wanted to protest and I'm in the US, I can't protest. I can only fight on the keyboard online. I mean, maybe if I'm on ground, I can say, okay, let me go physical. So do what you can with the resources you have. That is what I can. But the thing is, do something about it. Don't shy away. Don't say, hey, you know, it's for the certain group of people. No, as a Christian, you are mandated to do what you can. Don't shy away from politics. Yeah, it is not, it won't be very easy. It will be a rough road. That is where the matter thing comes in. Yes. Thank you.
So, aspiring MPs, if you don't have money and you're Christian, just go in. Nobody will show up at your rallies. I don't know who you're going to speak to, but yeah, do what has to be done.
The money, I can comment on that a bit. The money thing is it is basically inquire. So even our Lord did it. Our Lord did miracles to attract. So you can prepare tournaments for the youth. You can prepare something if you want to attract crowds. You can do what it takes if it means fine, because it's not evil to put in money, and if you have it to bring a crowd. If you organize a meeting, you need some minimum. Then fundraise from other Christians. Let them put money in your campaign. If you have rich Christians in your group, let them put money in you. So you gather the crowds. You do the projects you need to do in quotes to get the people's vote. It's not like, I mean, what I'm saying is like God, even Jesus himself, fed them. They started following him because of the food, but he wanted to put something in their mind. And if it meant that he had to gather them with some kwaso, he did it. So it's not evil to use money to bring people to your gathering, as long as you're not stealing that money or whatever. It is okay to, every campaign requires funds. Here in the US, presidents, even poor presidents, I mean, Obama was not the richest man ever, but he put up a campaign. People fundraised for his campaign. So do what it takes to run the campaign.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Peter, let me bring you back. Are you still walking?
Hello.
Oh, yes, Peter.
Yes. No, I'm now home.
We are now home. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, we are back. You had promised us part 2 of your submission.
Oh, now I was just still thinking about your question. What is the practical sense now? How do we practicalize?
Yeah, how do
Shall
you
we say?
apply?
Huh?
Do you apply?
Yeah. How do I really apply now the politics?
Can a Christian start, lead, or join a political party? I think that's also another one. If I show up wearing my red or my blue or yellow, whatever, is that okay? Knowing what these
Yeah,
political parties are
I
and what they
think
stand
so.
for?
I think
Huh?
that is the world. That is the world where your soul should go.
So put on the yellow shirt and take your
Yes.
soul to wherever it is, and create a
Yes,
counterculture around that place. That's what you're saying.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, our God had to get 12 disciples, not because they matter a lot, but because that was the katiba of the time. If you want to appear rabbi, you must have followers. so, so, so
So if you must
or,
wear yellow and the hat, please wear it.
or you create another party. You create another party. That's what Jesus did. You create a party of Abavubi, and then you lead that. That's why you have, because a counterculture has a nucleus, but then always everywhere we have a nucleus, we have a shell, or we have a cell. So you cannot be a nucleus just in vacuum. No, you must be a nucleus within some kind of matter. And that's the place where you have, for example, where I live. For example, this afternoon I bought a bottle of water, 2,000 bottle of water, and I was drinking and sipping. Now, by the time it got over, I was on the roadside. You know what I did? I have I'm a client to a certain pineapple seller, and is a Muslim. So I went to Muslim and said, Muslim, please help me keep this bottle for me. And all the other neighbors of Muslim were looking at me. They looked at me in amazement. They said, Muslim, but I was telling him to know so that I don't litter. And Muslim said, please, hey, let me keep it. There are these children, there are people who come collecting these bottles. And the rest of the people in the market were amazed at that. Now, you start like that. Where you live, Isaiah brought a good example. Don't litter. Begin where you live. Okay, you don't litter anyhow. Where you rent, how do you handle the little children of the neighbors? How do you handle garbage collection with where you go, where you rent? How, I think to me, the nucleus, the politics or practice of leadership, like as I've defined it, or the practice of politics, let us begin where we have a cell. Your first cell is the family. Practice the Christian politics there, or political Christianity there. I don't know how.
Thank you, Peter.
You practice it there. When you're a team leader, when you're a team leader at your place of work, you are the nucleus. Practice the politics there. And now I'm a teacher. How I handle my students, I am the nucleus. How I handle them, they disseminate that culture elsewhere. And that's how we become bigger. So that if I'm in charge of elections at school, and my secondary school children and my university school children, that's how I impact them, so that they practice the same, or they transfer the same when they go to mainstream politics.
Thank you, Peter. Tom, can you talk? Okay, you're a Christian, you've put on these party colors or whatever, you're now in parliament or whatever place. What guides your decisions in that place? Is it your personal beliefs? Is it your Christian beliefs? Is it your party position? When you're voting on things you don't agree with personally, or even as a Christian, abortion, gay rights, and things like that, what should determine how you vote or make decisions on these matters? Clearly, Tom cannot speak. By now, he should have unmuted himself. Let me go to Tembana.
Hey, hello.
Yes, to Tembana.
I hope my network is better.
We can hear you for now, so keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you're Christian, you've come wearing yellow or blue or green, whatever. You're now in parliament. You're voting on a controversial issue which contradicts your Christian beliefs or even personal beliefs or values. What do you do? Counterculture again is what we are. I guess we are now looking at the practicality. What do? You
Mm.
vote as a Christian? You vote as a party? Whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, abortion issues, gay rights, things like that, which are typically controversial in politics. What do you do as a Christian in politics now?
You see, for your question, what you're asking, of course, the votes here in Uganda for members of parliament don't really matter so much because they don't make any decisions. And whether you vote as a Christian or you vote
We're
as
assuming they do medicine for
Eh?
purposes of our discussion.
Eh, now, remember also, even if they do, politics considers majority. So they may be mattering, they may not be. You may have a different thought, but if you don't have the numbers, then they will not help in any way.
But it will be on record that Petson has a minority report on this issue, and it is filed in the Hansard or the library.
But you see, the law has passed because you see, even if you have a minority report, and that comes back from where I was coming. If we are talking about leadership of participation, like you've stated, of having a minority report, then you can. But if we are talking about creating an impact, then that's also another different story. And that's why you see, I still come back to my area submission where I started from. The politics and leadership and all that, it's all about power, authority, and control. And like here in this country, I remember when we were very young, my mom said, me, I only vote for Chairman LC1 and Museveni. The rest, I don't waste my time because they don't have anything they do. And when I grew up and analyzed that statement, Chairman LC1, before they, of course, now they have changed a bit. By then, Chairman LC1 was bigger than OC police station or even like a small judge. They would settle everything at community level. So you could see there that Chairman LC1 has power. And then the other person that has power in this country is Museveni. Now, you as a Christian, if you're to participate in leadership, which is going to create an impact here, then you need to target those positions that have the power. Because the other roles and positions are for eating. You're a minister, you're telling us Anita was withdrawing 500 million, 100 billion. Her salary is 30 million. If you ask her, where was he getting all that money from? So she's there, comfortable minister, you're getting your money, getting your deals and all that. Now, the thing is, you as a Christian, if you to involve yourself, you have to involve yourself at a part which is going to impact, which is going to be influential. If you're to create that counterculture, if you're determined to go for that, then now you have to be ready to die because it's a gamble. You can either go to Ruwero and come out live, but when you have the power and authority, or you can go and die from the bush and people will forget about you. So that is that is the thing that you are. But you see, the question is when you come back, you will end up becoming like the people that you fought against and chased away from power. Because you people, we have a problem as human beings. There are certain things that we are not in control of. Our nature and how we operate and do things, we are not in charge of it. And even if you
Then we
really,
can't be blamed for anything, Edison. We can just run and blame our nature for everything happening. Where is the personal responsibility?
Yeah, but you see that even when you want to do, okay, now when you read the historical leaders, even if you're to consider the Bible, Africa, or where the ones that had power, where do you say that this was for the cause of the people? Which leader would you point out that this was for the cause of the people? You find that most of them were just egocentric leaders, just chasing for their own benefit, and basically that is it. You chase one, you bring in another one, then the one that you're chasing does the same thing that the other person is doing. Like Uganda, we are you've celebrating so many liberation days. This is a liberation, then it goes, then another one comes in, and they're still doing the same things. But even the people who come with the right intentions, the environment they are operating in does not allow them to do what is in their mind. Their mind is telling them to do something right, but the environment they are operating in does not allow them to do the right thing. So it's really wishful thinking that a Christian can join and create an impact, but at least history has showed us
No, it says
that
otherwise.
history has showed us that leaders have come and we haven't seen any much difference. So we don't know if these ones maybe will operate in a much different environment, because what people come with good intentions and good ideas, as they say, or their minds are rightfully upright. But then they enter an environment and you find that you cannot operate like how you're thinking. You have to change and start operating like how the environment wants you to do. Yeah. Thank you.
Moderator, are you
Hello?
speaking to you? I don't know where he has gone. I don't know where the moderator has gone. But
I think
yeah,
he has gone.
yeah, he has dropped off. But Peterson, talking about that whole idea that you are discussing right before the moderator dropped off, yes, there's the issue of the human nature, yes. But let us look at the examples, and then we also think as human beings who have actually the same human nature. Peterson, I know you to be an accountant, and I know at a certain point you have been involved into huge amounts of public funds. And if we are using the litmus test of the human nature, you would be the richest now. But you have chosen not to embezzle those funds, Peterson. You have chosen. And some people like the Ramafabi, is it Dodi, those ones who died in prison? And this fatty guy decided to take that. You both have the same human nature. Why did you make that responsibility not to take those funds? And they did. So there's that kind of personal responsibility and human choices involved. People have chosen to be evil. Let us not be.
Now, actually, thank you. Now you've made a very good example. You see, the thing about the decisions that we make, there are so many factors that lead to the decisions that we make or the decisions that we do not make. Because you see, Kazinda, if you consider Kazinda was arrested when he was maybe 45. But he had been an accountant like for more than 20 years. And this is a guy who was actually even getting accolades from Ministry of Finance as one of the best accountants. And then something happens, then he steals. Now, actually, you see recently this case of Bank of Uganda and Ministry of Finance. The guy, accountant general, 60 years, has been a civil servant for so long. Now, sometimes the decisions that we make even if there are people who make those decisions, but because the environment they're in has pushed them to make such. And even if you and even if you're a person of high integrity, of course there are some that drop out and they resign, but there are some where you find that the environment has pushed him and he has no choice. So the nature that we operate in is always a factor in the things that we do.
And person, this is why we need Christian leaders in positions, more sober people. Let's not even restrict it to Christians, because there are people who are not even Christians, but they are healthy for these institutions. We need those healthier people to create healthy environments that do not lead people into temptation. Because I'll give you an example. If you have a sober Muhoozi Kainerugaba and a sober Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, then you, as a financial minister, or as do they call them the personal secretary? The
Permanent secretary.
Yeah.
Permanent secretary.
Yes, if you are a Gobi, a permanent secretary of finance, and you are a Kashaija of Minister of Finance, you will be comfortable and you will be sure that you want to receive a call from President Museveni, or from Muhoozi Kainerugaba, or from the man in Gulu, giving you directives that are contrary to the law and the principles. That's what we need. Because this environment is human beings. That's what we are talking about.
And now my question is, how is that possible?
Auntie, that's what we're trying here to create. Let us start by trying, first of all, to be the right people for the job. Then putting the right people in the right places. For instance, for the case of Uganda, I am suggesting, moderator, we are sorry you had dropped off, but we continue with the discussion.
Please continue.
Yes. This is why for the case of Uganda, I insist, okay, that we start by reviewing our constitution, number one, so that we have a document that guides us. But the constitution that we have here is someone's constitution. It is a constitution that favors the thieves, both in government and in the opposition. I mean, to start with, yes. And we need people to be willing to die for that. President Museveni was willing to die to become the president. We must have people willing to die to change the mess of President Museveni, if there is any. People must be willing to die and denying themselves. We've been benefiting from this district, but it is not working. Let us merge these districts. We've been benefiting from this constituency, but it is not working for the public good. Let us merge these constituencies. We cut our parliament. We cut our districts. We cut everything. Then the cost of government will be cut. But we need honest people. People who are not looking for their own things. Christians, for that matter, that's what we need. People who are willing to deny themselves. Unfortunately, the ones we call Christians in Uganda are the Senyonga, are the Bujingo, are the Kayanja, are the Kakande, moderator, have a nice time. Take charge.
Who are you going?
Isaiah, you'll die.
I don't even remember. Sorry, I dropped off, guys. My power, because we don't call it power these days, we call it light. Light went off, and then I couldn't get back in. Anyway, apologies. So I wanted us to talk about how those Bujingos, they're the ones Isaiah is talking about, the Bujingos, the Senyongas, the Ntagalis, and others, can become agents of change or social justice without turning their pulpits into political podiums. I think there's a thin line between speaking out about these things and actually turning yourself into a politician, because once you start commenting, then the attacks will come towards you. So how can you balance the two? Isaiah, let me start with you. Since you also have a pulpit, how can you not turn your pulpit into a political podium to achieve whatever ends?
You see, moderator, there is nothing wrong, by the way, and I'm going to sound unpopular here. There's nothing wrong with turning your pulpit into a political podium.
Huh? On?
Yes, there's nothing wrong. In fact, this book that works as the source book for our faith, this book we call the Bible, is a political book. And God help me, maybe this year or next year, I will run a series in the kings of Israel. And then I'll demonstrate to you how this book is political in everything. Now, for those of you who are not comfortable with the Old Testament, I'll front your leader, Jesus Christ. When he stood before Pontius Pilate, he told Pontius Pilate that I am a king. He did not tell Pontius Pilate that I am a savior. Hello?
I'm a king.
He told him, I am a king. In fact, he told Pontius Pilate that I am the king. So, moderator, there is nothing wrong with turning your pulpit into a political podium on one condition. Are you really doing politics as in leadership? Because, moderator, what we call the wilderness prophets are political reformers. A prophet like Amos, that is one of them, is the entire book and the entire ministry is on social injustices. Now, there is nothing like Holy Spirit there. There is nothing like let us kneel and pray. No, It is politics 101, justice. The book of Amos. That is what the book is about. The part, there's the first chapters of Jeremiah, it is politics. The first chapters of Isaiah, it is politics.
Yeah.
Until we get to what we call the Deutero-Isaiah, where now we switch now to theology, eschatological theology, the future. But the first part of this is politics. Moses is a politician. So there's nothing wrong with discussing politics on your pulpit. The problem here, moderator, is that we have people who are supporting Kyagulanyi and they are in the pulpit. And we have people who are supporting Museveni and they are in the pulpit. When they stand behind those pulpits, they start attacking the Museveni pastors and priests and reverends and bishops, start attacking Kyagulanyi. Then the Kyagulanyi bishops, reverends, archbishops, and pastors start attacking Museveni. That is not politics. That is Rugambo. Anikati Kalakata. There's a program. That is Anikati Kalakata. So moderator, we are not doing politics. We are just doing Rugambo. That's not what we are not addressing public issues. We are addressing individuals. That is not politics. That's not leadership. So unless we come to terms with what politics is and what leadership is, and we address these things, there are scriptures and verses in this Bible which address each and every situation. Whether you want to address the issue of corruption, the Bible is your source book. If you want to address the issue of leadership, the Bible is your source book. Even if you want to talk about the number in parliament and the gerrymandering of the country, the Bible is your source book. But the problem, we have charlatans in those church robes and religious robes who do not know even what the Bible says. And they cannot use scripture to address national issues. They cannot. So I think that is the problem, Mr. Moderator. And I can cite an example. You look at this Martin Luther King Jr. Look at the way he addressed a national issue using the Bible. Look at the way he turned the pulpit into a political rally PA system. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not discussing.
Would the pastor survive that if they turned their pulpit into a political mobilization?
Do you remember what I told you that
Survive even one day.
Do you remember what I told that Christians must be what in politics?
Must be matters.
And did Martin Luther leave? But did he change? Did he change America?
Yes.
That is what we do. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a Christian and I preach a God who died on the cross. I cannot preach the same Christ with the agenda of self-preservation. I cannot. I have not started preaching then. Or I am not even preaching this God. Christians participate in politics as matters. And that is how this world changes. President Museveni had a slogan with his men, ensi egula mirambo. True or false?
True.
Good. That is how a Christian participates in politics. We cannot change this country if we are just consumers and not consumed. We cannot change it. We will not. This month I am preaching the scandalous God. That is why I am in these years. We have to be scandalous if we are to change our politics. Until then, we are just commentators.
So the only way Christians can participate in politics is by being scandalous.
Exactly. Exactly. That is why I am a weirdo. I am weirdo to Pentecostals, a weirdo to religious people. Have you noticed that I disagree with each and every one? I am always disagreeing. And I know some of you, I bore you, some of you actually hate me, some of you talk about me. I am here to challenge every status quo. You have to be scandalous. This is how we are going to change this world. You cannot be doing the same things the same way and expecting different results. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have about 10 minutes to go. So I'd like us to wrap up. But I think the general agreement, at least from what you define politics to be and what a Christian to be, politics is around us. It's all around us. We cannot avoid it. So the question then is, how do we get involved? And to actually change the status quo. According to Isaiah, we have to be martyrs. We have to be scandalous. We cannot get involved as saints. We have to be martyrs. Let me just get some closing remarks from everybody, starting with Bob, if you can talk.
Sharif has tuned in and is not saying anything.
Yeah, I'll come to him. I'll come to Sharif. Okay, Bob probably cannot speak. Sharif, do you want to say something? Bob is busy. We've seen your message, Bob. Sharif, do you want to say something about Christians and politics? Okay. Sharif is quiet. Peter?
The basic nucleus of our society is family. As Christians, it is the eye of the storm. Let us start there. If we want to impact the politics of this country, of this nation, of this world, as Christians, let's begin where we form the nucleus, the family.
Thank you, Peter. Edson? Your parting shot?
Me, I already gave mine. I said,
You already said there's no hope. We are fighting a cosmic battle. We are just wasting time. Is that your conclusion?
let's just be submissive. Whatever leadership comes on, we submit, and we see the next day.
Self-preservation. Okay, thank you, Pedson. Tom, has Tom said anything today? I've not heard his voice. Why is fearing politics also?
Ali must struggle.
Anyway, Isaiah, your closing remarks, if you have any other.
For me, we must be Protestants. Unfortunately, Rutembana is a leader of Protestants in Uganda, but
he doesn't want to protest.
He's acting contrary to his institution, which is very unfortunate. We must be Protestants. Let us start at home, like Professor Peter has put it. The nucleus of every country, of every nation, is a family. Let us train our children to live differently, to look at the world differently, and let us show this world to our children objectively. Let us not protect them from the world. When you are driving and a traffic officer stops you, and if in the event you give that bribe, you have to explain that bribe to that toddler to understand. Or if you are not going to give it, don't give it, so that the police officer takes you with that child in the car, and then you have demonstrated to that child. Bob, you tell your leader, we don't want a protest vote. We want protesting voting in this chaos. A parliament of 500 MPs is chaos. A government of 100 ministers is chaos. Let us protest this. Let us protest the constitution. There I will join you. But a protest vote is in support of this chaos. So, moderator, Christians must involve themselves in the politics, because politics determines the affairs of life to details. We must be involved. By all means, we must participate in political meetings. We must be there. If Kyagulanyi comes, Kyagulanyi is now running a campaign of town halls. Christians must be in those town halls. President Museveni is running in politics in disguise of is it Bonabagaga? We must be there and ask serious questions. We must be there. When pastors are there and bishops are there, they just go there to praise the Holy Man. Let's be there and ask serious questions.
They want prados.
Self-preservation and consumerism. Then you let us die as idiots. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you very much. We're not going to add on any other words. I think that's a good conclusion. I'd like to thank you for joining in, each and every one of you. Please join us every Monday on Zoom between 6 and 8 p.m. East African time. We are always here. The Zoom meeting ID and the passcode do not change to make it easy. The link is the same as well. So please welcome on any Monday. We'll be happy to discuss any questions you have. God bless you, and we'll see you on Thursday with our weekly catch-up.